Hi, hello, hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome to a wet and grey UK from wherever you're watching in the world. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for checking this live watercolour demo out, which we're all kind of prepped for. Just give it a few minutes for a few people to come in and start watching. So yeah, welcome, and please do let me know if the sound is nice and clear for you. We've got it yanked up, so it should be. We'll talk about painting materials and a few other bits and what we're going to paint very shortly. Just want to quickly mention a little bit about this virtual workshop here, folks. You can see the advert at the bottom. The 7th of June, this Sunday. These virtual workshops have been proving very, very popular over the past 10 weeks, actually. And these have kind of, hi everybody, these have kind of replaced my standard workshops when I travel the UK and teach. And of course, the big benefit of these over normal in-person workshops is you can watch these things back. And it doesn't matter if you can't watch it live at 10 AM on Sunday UK time, because once you've booked in, you've got it to keep and kind of enjoy. So you can check this out as much as you like. You keep the workshop, and I want to say this to you now before we start painting, folks. I've only got a handful of spaces left for this, so if anybody is interested in booking a space for this painting workshop on Sunday, it's 10 till 4 UK time, but like I say, you can watch the thing back at any time. The subject, which is quite interesting, is going to be a butterfly on a buddleia flower head, you know, sort of long flower heads, and it's all going to be done step by step. What you're watching here very much is a demonstration where I'll paint a picture for you, and I'll whiz through the picture pretty quickly. The workshops, and please people in the comments, please do let me know if you've been taking part in these virtual workshops over the past few months, because I've been absolutely loving them, and the atmosphere in the chat and everything. It's a little private world for us, you know, and it's really cool. So we're loving that, loving it. So great time to book in. We've literally got less than 10 spaces left for this workshop here. Head on over to the link in the description. I'll pop it in the chat as well, just so people can see. There you go. So you can always click on that and head on over. And like I say, the subject is a tortoise shell or a red admiral butterfly in the style of a vignette. And if you're not sure what I mean by vignette, or vinaigrette as a few people call it, it's this kind of thing here. So this is the vignette. Nice kind of faded edges, beautiful subjects to work on in watercolour. So check that one out and get yourself booked in. Loads of people are doing these and people are loving them, and it's such a nice atmosphere, folks. It's total, that painting's going to fall. It's total escapism, total and utter escapism. It really is. Okay, check that out. Let me show you some of the pictures that we've been doing over the past few weeks on these virtual workshops. Let me see if I can get it on screen for you. There we go. These are the past 10 pictures that I've taught to hundreds of people from around the world, and I'm sure that some of you in the chat have already painted some of these. So at the top we've got the seascape picture that we did. That was based in Wales, a Welsh seascape. The Bluebell Woods, the Paris sunrise, and then you've got the cottage, the beautiful scene of Venice, which is just hiding at the back of the sunset there. I love that one. The sunset, of course, with the lake, the waterfall, the gorgeous African safari, the windmill, and right at the bottom centre, that's the one that we did only recently, a few days ago. That was the Italian lakes. Now, you can also get hold of these as well. If these are of interest to you, if you think I'd like to have done one of these subjects, well, over on Watercolour TV, I'll pop the link in the comments again. You can actually I'll be there in a second. You can actually buy them. You can buy the previous workshops, but only for a little bit of a limited time, folks, on those, okay? Bear with me here. Anticipation's half the fun, apparently. there we go. That's the link for the previous workshops. If anybody wants to book in to the butterfly on the flowers workshop, all step by step and literally only using 3 colours, that is the link for that one. So yeah, there you go, folks. Something that's been proven very popular, and please do let people know in the chat if you've been enjoying the workshops over the past few months. Okay, now there I am. Today's picture is all about a local scene to me. I live in Derbyshire in the UK, and there's a very famous house there called Chatsworth. I'm sure some of you, if not all of you, have heard of Chatsworth House. It's been used in thousands of films over the years. It's very popular. It's still lived in. It's very much the quintessential English stately home. There was a film with Keira Knightley called The Duchess, all about Chatsworth, so a pretty popular one, and it's only a stone's throw from me, really. And I want to paint a picture of Chatsworth House in a landscape today, and I'll paint it for you as a demonstration. Remember, a demonstration is me whizzing through this thing pretty quickly. Any questions, drop them in the chat. I'll have a quick glance over every so often and see. So let's just have a look at the sketch that we're going to do here today. So this is the sketch for this painting. So if you do want to have a go at this, like I say, it's going to be a very quick demo. It'll be about an hour to an hour and a quarter. And this is the sketch. So you can see I've put, it's pretty much got a straight line about 1/3 of the way up, and then Chatsworth House is kind of sat full facing forward on the horizon. And there's the river. I think it's the River Derwent, but I'm not 100%. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it is. Nice overhanging trees. That's the sketch. You can always watch this video back because it'll remain on YouTube as long as YouTube is a thing, which I'm sure it'll be a thing for a long time to come. Okay, so that's your drawing. That's me. And here we have some colours. So we're talking about colours for this particular painting. Now let's just briefly touch on again what we said here about this workshop. While I've been talking, we've had about 5 or 6 people book on, so it is getting to the point of full, folks. Please have a little think about it. There's the date, Sunday the 7th UK time. The materials that you need for that workshop are literally only these 3 and the primary colours. So all we need for the workshop on Sunday, very simply, is a red, a blue and a yellow. It doesn't really matter which one of those 3 they actually are, as long as it's a red, a blue and yellow. In this particular case I've got natural yellow light, natural blue and natural red. But you could use cadmium yellow, gamboge, lemon yellow, you could use French ultramarine, cobalt blue, you could use crimson, alizarin crimson, you could use rose madder, cadmium red. 3 colours, that's all we use on the workshops. Today's picture is a bit different because today is a demo, which means I can pretty much do what I want with this picture. Yes, I will teach it to you, but I can pretty much just whiz through it. So I will be using all of my own range of colours, okay? And there's a few to mention here. So, first of all, I'm going to be using some dark skin tone. Okay, so dark skin tone. Everything we're using is available online. There's the website in this corner somewhere. So I'm trying to point to it. There it is, kind of here. So head on over to Watercolour TV, folks. All the materials are available to buy, and we do ship worldwide. We do have stock of the colours that I'm using as well. Dark skin tone, okay? We're going to be using the greens. Now, when it comes to greens, it's interesting. I've got my own range of greens, developed and blended from yellow and blues, which means that the colours are designed to... I can't get rid of that one. There we go. Designed to replicate nature. So natural green. You can do the pictures from the primary colours, but remember, this is very much, I'll say it again, this is very much a demo. This is a painting demo. I'm just painting, and you can sit back and have a little sip of coffee. If you want to paint along with me, folks, then the secret to that, and I've not mentioned this yet, is book on this workshop on the 7th of June. We do have a few last spaces available. So we've got greens, we've got skin tone, loving the dark skin tone, beautiful kind of rusty brown colour. I'm going to pop it just here in the corner. Yes, we're going to be using some violet. Natural violet is one of my favourite colours. If I can get the lid off it. We've used it quite a bit over the course of the past few weeks and months on various demos. Natural grey. Now, natural grey is a shadow colour. Now, you can mix grey from primary colours, red, yellow and blue. But I want to be using natural grey, okay? I'm going to pop that in. Any questions you've got, drop them in the chat. I've just got a question about the skin tones. The skin tones can't really be mixed, Betsy, from primary colours, and I'll tell you why. Because it's an opaque colour. You can probably just, I don't know whether you can actually see that. It's a bit hard to get that, but just say opaque there, which means that it's got something in it that makes the colour pop. You can get close to it, but you can't get it spot on, okay? But yes, you can. Pretty much everything we use, and you can kind of get close with it. We've got natural blue. We mentioned natural blue a little bit earlier on, so that's going to go in there as well. And these are tube watercolour. We've got the red, we've got the bright yellow, which is always one of those colours that is just so useful. A bright yellow is just an essential, you know. And this particular one's called Natural Yellow Light, and we have got stock of all the colours that we're using today. Apart from the grey's out of stock at the minute. We're waiting for our suppliers to reopen because of the current world situation. If you're watching this back next year, I'm sure you remember what happened in the spring and summer of 2020. I'm sure you do. Okay, so that's pretty much colours, and I'll talk more about colours as we go through here. We've also got some natural orange that may be useful in this picture as well. I've got some masking tape here, kitchen paper. If we come back a little bit here, we've also, as you can probably see, we've got quite a few brushes hanging around as well. Brushes, 3 standard brushes for me really, and I'll just quickly mention these, then we'll chuck some paint on this thing. What we've got here is a big brush. This one's a 20 or a 16. This one's a 10, a size 10 round. This one is a 6. These are sable imitation brushes, if you like. Very, very nice quality brushes though, so really love those. The rest of the brushes are my own designer brushes. Lift out brush is gorgeous for putting highlights in. Very nice for putting highlights in your picture, so that's something we've got there. That is a lift out brush, okay? Again, these are available to buy on watercolour.tv. Some kind of detail brush. Now in this particular case here, this is my own branching detail brush, but you could simply use a rigger or something a bit pointy. We've got those. And then quite a special gorgeous set of brushes is the very, very popular and very famous tree and texture brushes. Now these have been around since the late 90s. I designed these, I think it was 99 these were first released to market, and we've added brushes to the range as we've progressed. So we've got a small tree brush, a medium, large and extra large. Again, everything you see here, these brushes, you can buy in sets on Watercolour TV. So that's pretty much all we need for this picture. We're pretty geared up, loads of colour. We'll talk more about colours if we need to. Let's get stuck into some painting. Just want to quickly mention as well, we're down to the last few spots now, folks, on this workshop. So if you are wanting to have a go at it, don't think about it, just get stuck in and you will enjoy it. Here's some of our paintings, by the way. This is a recent one of Golden Gate Bridge. A bit of a bluebell wood here. A nice wintry scene at the back there. Got a beautiful, there's a girl fishing just tucked around the corner here, look. And then let's take a close look, shall we? There she is. And then we've got this beautiful scene of London at the back. This is the kind of thing I like to do. And just hiding away there is a snow leopard and a can of Coke Zero, keeping the sugar away from the mouth. What we'll do. And there's a squirrel as well. Look at that beautiful squirrel. That's the kind of thing I like to do, folks. Check it out on Watercolour TV. Loads of stuff on there. We are ready for action. You'll be pleased to know. It's about bloody time. Right. So, here we go. Let's get stuck into this. We'll be off in a minute. Just hiding some of the dodgy comments, folks. You always get them. You always get people trying to trolls and various things. There we go. We'll keep an eye on the comment. When you're in a live broadcast, it's open for the world to see. It is. Okie dokie. Forget the chat, let's focus on what's happening here. So, we're pretty much ready for action. Yeah, there's quite a few video trolls hanging around these days. You can't avoid them. It's just part of being online. It is part of being live online. We'll keep an eye on them, folks. Any dodgy comments are nothing against anybody. They're just people that are very, very sad in life. Right, okay, let's plod on with this. We have a big brush. We're going to paint a beautiful sky. And this one is the size 20 brush, okay? So my first thing to do is to throw water. Now, just to mention the paper quickly, this is quite a large piece of paper here. And this one is a little bit bigger than A3 in size. Now, quarter imperial is absolutely fine. That's a good size to use. So I'm wetting the sky area. That's the bit I want to work on first. So I'm just doing the top section here. Now it's cotton paper. You can see I've stuck it to a board as well to make sure everything's all nice and wet. Is it me or is it moist? It's all nicely covered. Okay. Super. There we go. And I will keep an eye on the chat as much as I can, folks. Don't you worry about it. Any questions you've got, we will get them answered as quick as we can. Now, once that water's gone on the sky, I can decide now what sort of atmosphere. Do I want to go for a bright picture? Do I want to go for an evening picture? I'm kind of thinking a bit of an evening scene, if I'm completely honest. So, because I love the atmosphere of the colours. So if we take a look at using something like orange, we've got natural orange here. I'm going to take some of this. Again, all these colours are available online, folks. If I've not mentioned that already, I apologise. There you go, bit of a tap. And we're going to do some twisties. We're going to twist some orange. There you go, can't go wrong with this. I'm going to twist some orange into the sky and create a bit of an evening over Chatsworth. Now, I don't know exactly what time of year this is going to be yet. We'll see. It might be autumn, might be summer, might even be winter. It's all part of the fun. Yes, you can watch it back later. You can watch this thing back at any time as much as you like. That's the great thing about all this virtual stuff. Same as the virtual workshops. Once you've booked on, if you feel that you haven't got time to do it there and then, you can just very simply head on over to the link and you can just basically do it again. That's all part of the fun. So that's natural orange, clean brush. Now this time I'm going to go for some violet. So this one's natural violet. There it is. Gorgeous for bluebells, this colour, by the way. So we'll take some natural violet. It's good to get a bit of kitchen paper just to sort of tap off the excess. And also, you know, sometimes people have a little cry when they're painting as well. So I know I do. So it's useful just to dab off any excess. It's emotional, this painting business. And I'm twisting in because I want to get a bit of an evening feel. And I'm sure you've seen me paint on here before. And I do like an evening atmosphere in a painting. I think it's all part of the fun of this thing, okay? So I want to work these colours into the background here. Can't go wrong with this. Twisting away. What could possibly go wrong? And then we're going to bring that down here. This is using the violet. Now when the violet mixes with the actual orange, it's going to go more of a grey. So we can twist it in. I love that twist. Practice your 3-finger twist in the morning. Get your wrist moving for doing these wiggly brush strokes. Smaller ones in the middle. Nice, that's good. It's got a nice atmosphere, it's clean, and that's the best thing to say about a sky. Keep the skies nice and clean. You don't want to be messing around with any of the overworking business in skies, because it's easy to destroy the sky. So just be a little bit cautious about that, won't you? Okay. Hey, with me. Now, while that's a little bit on the damp side, what I'm going to do, folks, is pop down to the palette here. And I mentioned the tree brush. Now, this beauty, this is a beautiful thing. We can stroke it. It's relaxing. It's a brush that's designed for painting extra large trees or close-up trees. We're going to give it a clean in the water, a bit of a squeeze through fingers. Just had a few more bookings coming for the workshop, folks. Please think about that. We're down to the last couple of spots. I'd hate you to miss out, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be a shame? It really would. Please, everybody who's in the chat that's been on the workshop, just let people know how enjoyable they actually are, and you will, guaranteed, if you paint along, produce a picture. Let's use a mix of the two greens, so light and dark. Mix it and stipple it, basically. There we go. Look at that. Green highlights. Now, in theory, the paper is still a bit damp. Now, if I zoom into this top section here, what I want to do is I want to stipple this brush, okay? So if you look at the brush, you can see it's all spiky, so I want to stipple it because my paper is a little bit on the damp side. If I zoom in really close, you can see how effective that is. Now, if you've not got a tree and texture brush, why not? If you've not got a tree and texture brush, just take a little bit of time painting the individuals, you know. But look at that spacing between each leaf for this overhanging tree. Is that not nice? Beautiful. So it gives character, and that's what I'm interested in here, folks. I'm interested in character. And I kind of rotate the brush as I do this so we can get even closer. There you go. So we can get nice and close in. And this is the XL version of the tree brush, which paints individual leaves of close-up trees. That works, doesn't it? Is this like watching paint dry? Of course it is. Bring it over. Now I'm just going to quickly pop into the... That's the palette. We'll take some dark green. So it's natural green, but it's the darker version. And I'll stipple it again. So it's just a little bit stronger in consistency and a touch darker. Back to this. Let's go right into this corner here. And basically, I'm just going to stipple in some extra darkness. And that's probably going to be enough on that tree. I can always add to this later. If you do like the tree brushes and you think, you know, it works well, but I always think a nice idea is to actually use them, but then if you actually grab a 6 brush, a size 6 brush, and use the same colour, and I always think just a few individuals alongside all those big massive foliage, it's a nice way of creating that impressions that you've spent a good few hours stippling leaves, and of course you've not, because no one's got a few hours to stipple leaves in this modern world, brave new world that we're in at the minute. Beautiful. So I can actually work these in quite definite, bring as many or as few of these as I like, and I can always add more once I've put some branches into these trees. So I'm sort of jittering, I'm sort of vibrating with my hand. Plenty of practice. And it allows you just to go in. And then what I'll do is I'll grab a plastic card of some kind. And if we get even closer here, I'm just going to scrape away some branches. Can we see them? So I'm basically scraping out some branches inside and around. See the little scrapey bits I've popped in? It just adds a few branches. Just throwing the card on the floor as opposed to the towel. How are we doing? Super. Welcome if you just joined us. I'm painting a scene of Chatsworth in Derbyshire, which is a fairly local scene to me. And I've just got a little note that someone's just said, can we see the sketch again? Yes, well that's good because that needs a few seconds to dry. There's the sketch that I've done. Roughly quarter imperial, £140 weight paper, 300 gram. and feel free to get it sketched in. Super. Just sorting a few more trolls out. Right, okay, so the fun of live broadcasting, eh? So back to the palette again, folks. We've pretty much got some of the colours that we're going to use, because in a second or two we're going to paint in the water. Okay, and what I want to do here is I want to use the violet again and the orange. Now for the water I'm going to use a size 10 brush, okay? Albeit the water be a beautiful green, it's still usable, because it's surprisingly clear when you actually use it. So what I've got here is I've got the violet, I've got the orange, natural orange, I've got the kind of greeny mess, and for the first time I'm going to introduce a shadow colour. Now like I say, I'm using natural grey, which is my own version of a shadow colour. I mean, you look at the shadow of my hand as it moves around, you can see it's grey, see it on the paper at the top there. It's a mix of primary colours, so don't worry if you've not got this grey. It's basically blue, red and yellow, and you can mix the grey yourself as well, okay? Super. Okie dokie. So let's now pop back up to the picture, and we're going to paint in the water next, because I want it to reflect the sky. Okay, and I will start off by wetting the water. So using that big brush again, I can be very loose actually with the water that goes on here. I'm not massively interested in if I went over these, because these pencil lines here that you can see, that's going to be grass and various things. So it's quite easy to mask those areas off. Okay. And then I'll pick up the size 10 brush once the water's gone on, and my first colour is going to be the orange, which will go in horizontal strokes. Okay, so basically horizontal brush strokes like so, and then straight into the violet, which comes right down to the foreground. So again, I've captured whatever colours in your sky, capture it in your water, and I'm putting natural violet in here. Now it's lovely because when it mixes, like I said a little bit earlier on, it goes grey, which is perfect. So you can mix orange and grey together if you wanted to. So if that was to go in like so, this would work quite nice. Over here as well. So bring in some colour. Beautiful. Okay, now we mentioned grey. We've not used grey yet. I'm going to pick up a little bit of natural grey up. I'm going to take some kitchen paper and I'm going to tap off the excess. This is a size 10, remember. And right at the back of the water here, just going to pop in a little bit of darkness. That's going to help the water sit quite nicely. There we go, that helps. So that's given me a base of water. Now just here we're going to have some green trees, so there's no reason why I can't pick up some of that green that I used earlier and pop some green in while the paper is a little bit damp. So it's very much a landscape, but we've got Chatsworth House nestling here within this scene. Okay, smashing. There we go, beautiful. Okay, so I'm happy with what I've got so far. Let's come back a little bit and take a look from a touch of a distance here. There we go. So we can see we've got this overhanging tree, we've got the beautiful sky, we've got the water. We're now going to work in the middle and pop in some landscape. But before we do that, that needs a little bit of time to dry. Okay, so while that's drying off, you can be entertained by looking at some other pictures that are hanging around the studio. Let's take a look at let's have a look at this wintry landscape. There you go. Now if you're bored with that picture, let's just swing the camera over here and have a look at a squirrel on a log. Also a great time to get yourself booked in for this workshop here, folks. Let's pop that in the comments, the link of how to book it. There we go. Super. Okay folks, we're nice and dry now. Something we can't really avoid, but is very important of course. There we are all nice and dry. The winter scene, what I've just showed you with the buildings on, there's a worksheet of how to do that on Watercolour TV. That's this picture here. And also there is a full tutorial in my book called Matthew Palmer's Step-by-Step Guide to Watercolours, which you probably come across. It is a popular book out in America, this as well. This is the book here, look. Matthew Palmer's Step-by-Step Guide to Watercolours. And at the back of the book, you get all these step-by-step tutorials. You've got this gorgeous poppy meadow here, and there's a woodland scene here. Seascapes, like painting seascapes, all step-by-step. And then near the front of this, there's a gorgeous one in New York as well, look at that. Autumn and summer New York, step by step. And then if we come over here, there is that winter scene with full instructions, and even better than that, this really nice fold out tracing of each painting, plus loads of tips folks, plus an inspirational photograph to get you in the mood. Look at that. That's not fake, is it? Is it? Check it out. Right, okay, so it's nice and dry. Nice and dry. And we're going to work on the landscape now, folks. So we'll zoom in a bit closer here, like so. And I want to work around this. Now, you might notice some blue stuff around here. That is masking fluid or liquid latex. This is masking fluid. This is the stuff that I use. The blue one's nice because you can see where you stick it, which is important. And I popped it around the building, okay, to protect the building from the background, okay. Which book? Matthew Palmer's Step-by-Step Guide to Watercolours. That's the book you need to get hold of, folks. That's what I'm just showing you, okay. Right, now we're going to paint in all of this landscape here. It's going to go in a big chunk of colours. Distance first, working forward as always. Size 10 brush, pretty much using the colours that's in the palette. Okay, so nice and easy, and you can't really go wrong with this. So what I want to do is I want to use a pale natural grey, which I've got down here, and that's going to go in the background first with a few little sort of spots and dots around. So I'm creating a bit of depth basically. I'm spotting, dabbing and dotting and stuff. Bring it down, and then very quickly we're going to get this green colour here, and we're going to pop the green down into the landscape. So I'm keeping this very distant here, spotting away and keeping it nice and light, okay? Now as I reach the base of this thing, as I get towards the base of that area, popping in a bit more colour, like so, and then just a bit of water through this tissue just to smooth it in. Now I'll give that a few seconds to dry, and while that's drying off, I want to work in some bits lower down, because it's working forward, but we've also got a big chunk of landscape in the foreground. Okay, so down at the bottom here we need to put something in this corner here. Great. Okay, so down here is pretty straightforward, thick heavy colours. So very quickly back to the palette here, we're talking greens. We'll bring in some skin tone as well, so it's going to have some dark skin tone. Love that colour, it's like a rusty opaque brown colour. And then I'm going to have the dark green. These colours are quite strong, by the way. And then here we've got a mix of the two greens, light and dark, working together. Beautiful. So plenty of colours to play with there. And as Lauren has just said, make sure you hit the subscribe button, folks. If you're watching me on YouTube, I've got quite a popular and quite a, well, not popular, but quite a busy YouTube channel. So please hit subscribe, and more importantly, hit the notification bell so you get informed of any up and coming events that are happening. It's all painting, that's all on my YouTube channel, as you probably are aware. So make sure you do that, that'd be wonderful, thank you. Okay, right, so let's bring in these colours now. I'm not being afraid to use these colours rich here, and literally I want to pop these paints in. Got the green on the edge here, and bring this in here. Now that's a big old chunk, it's just like a green line in the corner, very straightforward thing to do, but strong paint, and there's a reason for this, and I'm alternating the colours as I do this. I want to pop in some of that skin tone because it's nice to see some variation. Might be a bit of exposed earth or something, or a bit of a sludgy edge. Now a little bit earlier we was using those tree brushes at the top of the painting there, and we use the tree brushes for the big overhanging leaf. Now in this particular picture here, I'm going to be using the tree brushes quite a lot, and I'm going to use them in a second, put some grasses on. So if I was to pick up the smaller one, actually the medium one would work nice. I've got the medium one and some of the green I've just been using, and I'm stippling it so it's all nice and spiky. Let's get close in. Let's get down here. Because what I want to do here is I want to flick this thing upside down, stipple it, and I want to paint in some grasses. You see that little sort of grassy edge? You can see that, can't you? Yeah. So I'm sort of popping that on the edge, and that'd be quite nice to give a bit of texture. Now this is all about, it's basically looking at the shape of the brush. Can you see it's got a slope on it? That's quite important with this brush, and it just allows you to stipple, just to create a slightly more realistic shape. I don't want to do a huge amount of this, but a little bit. And then while I'm close in, I'm also going to be using the plastic card again, this plastic card here, and I want to use this to very gently scrape off some watercolour to make it look like a banking. So I'm using it like a palette knife, I suppose. I mean, I could put some rocks in the foreground, but it creates like texture to grass. I mean, I've walked around this part of Chatsworth a lot, so I know the area pretty well, and it's not even ground. But that, I mean, if I zoom back a little bit, you can see how effective that is. It looks great, a gorgeous skin tone. That's dark skin. Yes, we do have stock of skin tone, dark skin tone, no problem. Yes, quick question come through on email, because I've got an email feed here as well. Okay, so if you go over to watercolour.tv, and you can book the workshop there for Sunday. Okay, remember it's a butterfly. We're painting a red admiral or a tortoiseshell butterfly with a buddleia flower. So a beautiful summer watercolour for us all to enjoy. Total escapism, folks. That's the story so far with this picture. Now I want to work in this area here, build up all this, and then we'll get into the detail, which is the best bit. A similar kind of idea here to what we've just done. So working as a big chunk of colour, creating distance, shadow and depth, and then it's all the little bits at the end that make the picture work, as always. Okay, so it's just a case of alternating my colours. It really is a simple case of that at this particular stage. So I want to work along here with the greens. Now I'm simply just going to be picking and mixing. There is no script here. I shall bring in some of the skin tone for a bit of variation, and at certain times, you know, it's nice to see a little bit of variation in colour. So I've just got some of the light yellow here. This is natural yellow light. I want to bring a little bit of that, but not much, if I'm honest. But a little bit of that will creep in quite nicely, and it'll mix in with those colours. And then just making sure we're getting plenty of dark colour around where I've put the masking fluid. If you're not sure what masking fluid is, folks, I will talk more about it a little bit later on, and I'll have a look at the questions in a minute. If anyone's watching this thing back at a later stage, just bear in mind that this is broadcast live, so any weird questions that are being answered, it's because people are asking questions live. Okay, just thought it's always worth saying that, I always feel. Bring that down here. I mean, really is mixing and matching, and then we've got lovely masking fluid there to think about as well. It's been a long hot summer at Chatsworth, so I'm going to bring that in. If you do a quick internet search for Chatsworth House, Peak District or Derbyshire, you will find some stunning photographs of it. It's probably the most famous still used stately home in the UK, I would say. I might be wrong in saying that, but I'll say. Okay, now this comes straight down here. Lovely greens here. These are the natural greens available. We'll do something called a seasonal set. You can buy a seasonal set that contains these colours. So if you like the greens and things that we use in, then they are available. It's just a bit of a time saver having the colours ready made. I mean, I'm not saying you have to use these by any means, but it's just one of those things that can sort of help the situation. Working right down to the water's edge here. Again, still, let's come back a little bit, very much just blocking in, blocking in, blocking in. At this point, middle areas where the paint changes direction, or the grass changes direction is what I meant to say. Now I'm just going to get some of that skin tone in there because it really does look nice, and a bit of the yellow as well for that matter. Mixing on the paper, the more you do watercolour, the more you'll realise that it's a nice way to work. Okay, it's a great look at that little squirrel keeping us company in the corner there. Hey. And then just popping in a bit of dark green over here. And I'm just going to glaze over this with a damp brush because I want this all to be fresh, folks, and the reason for that is because I want to do the card thing again. That's all nice and fresh paint, and then we'll take that plastic card again and we're going to scrape off. So I'll get close in for this, like so. Beautiful. Okay, so I'll pop it just there and I'll scrape it up and over, so it's like an up and back effect because it's like a grassy area, and this will help to create depth from here to there. I mean, it might seem like it's pretty straightforward. It is. It's a simple technique, this, but it does take a bit of practice for people. Again, if you like all these techniques, I mean, These are examples of what we'll be learning in the workshops and the virtual workshop. So if anybody's a member of Watercolour TV, which is the website here, which is the video on demand, it's the original video on demand, folks. This is going back now kind of 12 years. So there's 12 years worth of footage, and there's new content added weekly. There's exclusive live broadcasts on there as well. So there's all sorts of things I'm doing on Watercolour TV. But look how that's given me shape to this and that. So now that needs a bit of drying, and then we're going to put some trees on, and then we're going to start to work through. But taking a look back at the picture here, it's looking alright, isn't it? It's looking okay. Lots of greens need interest, so it's saved time using that card, just any plastic card, credit card or something, to give that effect. Are you with me? Yes, so I can see people are asking about time zones for workshops. Well, it starts at 10 AM UK time and it is live, but here's the thing, it doesn't matter, and it's not a problem if you can't watch it live because it's yours to keep. You get sent a link on email, a private link. It's a private group, not like this that's open to all, and it's a proper, genuine step-by-step workshop, okay? 7th of June. It's a butterfly on a flower. It's a beautiful scene. I promise you'll enjoy it. I'm going to give that a blast with the dryer, folks. While I'm drying that off, you can enjoy, this time, I think you can enjoy a beautiful bluebell wood, actually. How's about that? Let's have a bluebell wood. There's a bluebell wood. And there's that can of Coke as well, hiding in the corner. Yes, this was in my first book, which was Matthew Palmer's Watercolour for the Absolute Beginner. I believe that might be out of stock though at the minute. I'm not sure whether it is. You can always head on over to like Amazon and places to see if you can get it. I think it's out of stock in the UK at the minute. It's being reprinted as we speak. Yeah, that's right, March. Watercolour for the Absolute Beginner. Look, there's a little Pac-Man ghost hiding in the corner. Right, that's nice and dry. Beautiful. Okay, so we've got that nice scene now. It's there, it's all dry. Paper goes nice and flat. We're now going to do all the best bit, which is popping in the shadows. And that's when this thing really starts to make sense. Shadows, beautiful trees. We're going to put lots of trees in. That's what it's all about, folks, working on these nice kind of tree areas. And I am going to be using more masking tape to get me some clean edges. That's going to be a nice little trick for us at a later stage, okay? So let's get a bit close in here so we can see what's happening. Now, right in the background, this grey sort of misty blob, this grey hill here, that's going to have some distant fields on. And for this, I want to be using a small scrap piece of paper, preferably quite thick. I mean, this is a piece of the same paper that I'm painting on. I want to use that. And I'm also going to be using the smallest of the tree brushes. So far we've used the medium one. At this point I'm using the small one. So if I compare that to the XL, you can see it's the little love child of that brush, you know. Tiny, tiny, tiny. Now, as far as colours are concerned, I want something quite like a misty kind of grey sort of colour. And I want it to look as though it really is going to be in the background, okay? That's quite, it's quite important, okay? As always. It's all about creating depth. So quickly down to the palette then, we're going to have some natural grey and green together. That will do it over there. That's about right. Like a yucky green, basically. I've got the scrap paper, got the kitchen paper here as well. on the tissue. Back to the picture. There it is, nice and close in. Let's take this piece of card. This is the small trick brush. We'll pop it like there, and then we're going to stipple against the edge of the card. Now this is my practice here, so I can do trees and hedgerows and various things. And you can see it creates that sort of line like a field or something. Now if I turn this on an angle here and do a similar thing there, works, don't it? Now just behind that area I'm going to change brushes. I want to go for just the normal 6 brush, okay? Just the normal number 6 brush. And it's quite a pointy brush, this one. And this one's going to work along here. And we're going to change direction. Pop some little spots for trees. If you look close, I've painted some sheep in them fields as well. Derbyshire's famous for sheep. There's lots of them. Bring it over. It's also famous for Bakewell pudding. Bakewell pudding. Bakewell's very close to Chatsworth, very close. The original Bakewell pudding shop, beautiful place to visit if you're ever in the UK and you're doing the travelling of Derbyshire. Make sure you go to Bakewell. Some nice pubs in Bakewell. Closed at the minute, though. Obviously. Apart from that one. There we go. So little sort of spots and dots, and it just helps to give distance really, and I can ease these lines off. So I'm really creating a nice sense of depth, and that will have depth all the way through that. And I can just sort of add little extra bits to these ones if I feel the need to as well. So this is all about adding detail. There we go, nice. And then in front of that, but adding more and more of the same. It's all part of the fun. Let's just swing over to the house a minute. Again, if you just joined us, this weird blue substance that surrounds this building is masking fluid, okay? I want to paint in some grey and put some shadows at the back of the building here on both sides. And all this will get blended in a second. It looks a bit naive at this point, but as always it'll grow on us. And that goes around because that's going to make that thing really pop, and it needs darkness, it needs shadow to make it work. Everything needs shadow. Apart from Count Dracula apparently. I'll work that in. And we're going to work in these lines. I'm just using water here, and I'm basically blending this in so it doesn't look as though I've just popped a line around, and I've spent a bit of time adding shadow. And I can also pop some of these nice shadows coming down from the top edge as well. Nice. So I'm adding a bit of texture here. Random brush strokes. Thanks for the nice comments on about Watercolour TV. If anyone's not a member of this Watercolour TV, head on over, folks. It's a 30-day free trial, and I said this last time I was on. Actually, if you go on there and if you sign up for a year's membership, when the new update goes live, which is a huge update on the website, all swanky fancy, the price will go up, but it'll remember how much you are paying. So if you remember now, it's better because it'll remember the price you pay when it comes to renewal. As long as your card's up to date, it'll just charge you the same price forever. There's still a few people that pay the old price now from 10 years ago. So Okay, lots of new stuff and new stuff added weekly. You're getting at least 4 or 5 a month. Sometimes they go on in bulk. Sometimes you get 1 or 2 appear. I'm popping little bits of green here, by the way, just to give some variation to the fields. That works. Does it now? Let's come back here. The white balance has gone a bit funny on the camera. We can correct that by doing this and doing that. Maybe. That's better. Okay, let's get close in and then let's work some more trees into this thing. Looking good though, looking good. Remember that small tree bush that we was using here? So again, for the people that have joined us, and the numbers are going up all the time while we're talking, which is great, so welcome to everybody that has joined in the great art escapism. We've got the small, medium, large and extra large tree and texture brush. The XL did a great job of these leaves at the top, and then the medium one did a nice job of doing the little grassy edge here. The small one is good for doing hedgerows, and we're going to pop a line of trees at the back here like we did a few seconds ago with a piece of card, and it's pretty much the same kind of colour, just a little bit stronger. So it's a mixture of the blue and the yellow if you're using primaries, or mix of just natural green, the darker one. Natural green and natural green light is the colours what I'm using here. Beautiful. And then back to the picky. Let's get close in here. We're going to use the piece of card. Now, seepage is always a problem when you get to a certain age. I'm just starting to notice it. We're going to use this, and hopefully the secret to combating seepage is to dab off the excess. Right, write this down, folks, especially chaps. Dab off the excess on a bit of tissue first, and then I'll move on. Stippling away. Whoa, my easel nearly fell off. But you can see what's happening there, can't you? This is not live, is it? Is it live or is it Memorex? That's an old one, isn't it? Right. It's getting a bit surreal today. I think it's the weather. It's raining here in Derbyshire. It's a strange day. Beautiful. Nice. This is sitting lovely just on the brow of that hill. Can't go wrong with these, can you? And then we'll follow the hill. We'll follow the hill. Now, if anyone's asking me questions, I'm trying to look at the chat and paint at the same time. But you can always get in touch via the website. There's a contact page there as well. And that's watercolour.tv is the website. That works lovely, don't it? That it really sits nice, and I will put some shadows into this before I finish the actual painting as well. So I can do various heights of these trees. I've got to make sure that I'm overlapping the green, of course, where it sits. And I want to take this thing down and pretty much just taper it off so it sort of sits nicely. Then I'm just going to add a little bit of grey into that green, so I'm making the colour much, as you can see there, much darker, because I want to pop some shadows in the base of what I've just done. Okay, so I want to come back to the start and just pop a little bit of shadow undergrowth, and that's when you'll really see it sat. Definitely like watching paint dry. So remember, this is the demo, so I'm whizzing through fairly quickly, and if you like the idea of my kind of painting, my style of painting, then this is the answer. Virtual workshop, Sunday the 7th of June, Butterfly. Have I mentioned I'm doing a workshop on Sunday? Is it the first time I've said it? Got a few spaces left, have I said that as well? Yes, this is Chatsworth in Derbyshire, which is a very famous English, British stately home. Still lived in by the original family, the Duke and Duchess, or is it Dowager's now? I'm not sure. Of Devonshire. Smashing. Let's bring some of these down, and let's add a bit of a hill or a field coming down here. Just using the same idea. So normally I go to this part of the world 2 or 3 times a year teaching painting holidays, but of course the holidays have been cancelled or postponed until next year because of this weird thing that's in the air at the minute. That looks really nice, liking that. And again, I could pop another one in, maybe coming just down. This is today's giveaway, by the way. Someone can win this original piece of artwork. It's called Napoleon's Defeat at the Battle of Waterloo. Actually, that's upside down. There you go. It's a giveaway. Put your name and address on the back of a stamped addressed envelope if you want to win it. Stamped addressed envelope. That brings back childhood memories. Watching the kids' TV shows and sending in postcards to get a free fact sheet, which was normally a photocopied piece of A4 paper from the BBC. Was it not? Now I can also use this colour, this green colour, to pop in some trees at the back of the house, because there's obviously going to be, you know, little bits of interest. Let's get close in here, because the more darkness we can paint in around the back of this house in the form of trees and stuff, the more interest it's going to be in the picture. Okay, let's bring that back over here again. Just want to make sure things are nice and dark. Also, let me know, folks, in the chat. We are planning to visit America next year and do some watercolour workshops in various states over there. So let me know if that's of interest to you, please. You can always drop us an email if you're interested. Start the ball rolling. And workshops and demos in some of the bookstores over there as well, and some book signings, that kind of thing. So if that's of interest to you, if you'd like to attend a workshop with me in person, let me know if you're interested, because that's something we're looking at doing next spring stroke summer, as well as the stuff in the UK, as well as the virtual stuff, of course. That's looking nice, that. Liking the way that's shaping up. Now, hanging around in my art box is this bent palette knife. I'm going to use this just to pop in. I don't know if you can see this or not, some little... But zoom in close, can you see what I've done? Pop some little branches in that tree. Works, don't it? Now over this side of the house, let's pop in some trees there as well. Because it's an evening sky, the violets and the oranges, I can get away with using darker colours here quite happily. But like I said a few minutes ago, the more that is surrounding this, the more it's going to pop. So I'm going to work some more trees here. Nice and rich with the colour. And then I don't want to be all dark with it, so I'm going to bring in a little bit of lighter green as well. But it's a gorgeous little set of brushes, these, aren't they, for doing this? And that's all going to give us a good situation for this to make this pop. And you can see it's put the trees at the back there, which is really nice. And that's the smallest of the tree brushes for painting small trees. The original name for this brush in the marketing meetings that we had years ago was going to have the woodland brush, the big one. We was going to have the classic tree brush for painting your big trees. We was going to have the medium tree brush, and then wait for it, which is not my idea, the Matthew Palmer bush brush. But luckily we decided to just call it a small tree brush instead, which was a relief. Although we might have sold more if it was a bush brush. I don't know, maybe. Okay, so I can scrape in a few few branches, trunk really, you know, rather than anything. Because the paint's thick enough, it's quite easy to have a little bit of a scratch, which is quite satisfying. It 3:35. Is it really that time already? That's gone quick, hasn't it? Very quick. Let's come over this side. In fact, let's take a look back at the picture here. Actually, we can see what we're doing now. That's how the scene's taking shape. It's starting to do its thing. Probably got about another half an hour work on this picture to get it all together. I'm going to paint in some trees here, reflections, and then the house, of course. Stick with us, folks. This is escapism in art. Also called better than watching the news at the minute. We do go around the UK and do lots and lots of workshops. Carol, travel the country normally. I spend normally most of my working time is travelling, doing workshops around the UK. I do about 6 or 7 venues, but at the minute I'm obviously not doing that, which is why these virtual ones are proving popular. The big advantage of these, it's like having one-on-one tuition. It's like sort of me and you, you know, and it works really well. And you can watch them back at any time. You don't have to watch it live, remember that. Please make sure you hit subscribe if you're watching this live, folks, and the notification bell. I'd love to get my subscribers to 50,000. Come on, we can do this. Work as a team. Work as a team. So normally I go to workshop locations in the UK. Manchester. Now I can't do every county. It's not possible. There's only one of me. We do Manchester. We do Nottingham. We do Warwickshire, which is kind of Midlands, and then London, Guildford, and then we go down to Exeter. It's a pretty big spread. Plus I do Lake District, Norfolk as well. So as you can see, it's a lot of places to visit. Derbyshire obviously, and Northumberland as well. That's a pretty, if you was to draw a pin from it's kind of like this, really, like a zigzag. So I do a lot in the UK, but we're looking at doing a few weeks in America next year. That's all, and it'll be lovely. It'll be great. Now over this side here, I'm going to paint in some larger trees with the slightly bigger brush. So that was the small, this one's going to be the medium. Now for this one I could use the same technique, but I'm just going to show you something different. I'm going to use a bit of masking tape here, remove the stickiness, and we're going to pop this masking tape along here, and that'll just give me a similar effect to what I was just doing a few seconds ago. This will all let me get the masking fluid off of there then. So it's pretty much a repeat performance here, folks, but I'm just using the medium sized tree brush instead of the small. So I'll start off with quite a dark green. It's got quite a bit of grey in it actually. If we get close in, this is the quick way of painting trees with the Matthew Palmer tree and texture brush. So we'll stipple in quite dark there, nice and rich. Now that can pretty much go all the way along that edge until it meets the house. Now that's a very dark colour. That's actually a mix of green and grey together. Clean my brush, and then I want to have a much lighter colour. So this one's a mix of the two greens, and this is going to work from over the top of this, and it's going to work into that, as you can see, and it just creates a lovely effect of trees. And I'm mixing on the paper, so I'm sort of encouraging this darker colour to be reactivated. Now all these brushes I'm using are not required for the virtual workshop. All you need is 3 brushes for that, folks. You just need a large, medium and small. No tree brushes are required for the workshops, and only 3 colours, which is red, yellow and blue. Primary colours is all that is needed. Lovely. Again, I do often like to think to myself it's well worth just picking up a little brush and popping in just a few extra leaves. The amount of times people say to me, why don't you come and visit our area? It's just that we just can't do everywhere, and we do keep changing locations every few years. So I know people are getting into a conversation about, why don't you visit here? Well, you know, we also have to you know, have some time at home as well, yeah, if you know what I mean. People do travel for the workshops, but that's where these virtual things come in, because you don't have to leave your house, which is a great thing to do. There we go. So I'm going to pop these in here, make sure it's all nice and definite, nice and dark at the bottom, and then again we've got that lovely palette knife that we had, and we'll scrape in some little trees, yeah, just using a palette knife. I mean, this is an old thing, I've had it for, I don't know, probably 20 years or something like that, but just a few little flicks actually, it just helps to give a bit of interest, doesn't it? And when it comes to painting, every little helps. We are looking at doing some stuff in Ireland. Yes, we are. Yes, watch this space. We are looking at Ireland. There's a couple of us artists that are thinking about going over there to do some stuff. Be a pleasure. Ireland is a wonderful place. Love it. Love it. Let's take this masking fluid off, okay? Nice and steady. Gorgeous, eh? What a simple technique to do, but it works well. Now we can also take the fluid off over here, but that needs a bit of time to dry before I start rubbing, because you rub it off. But that's how things are looking here, folks. It's working nice. Got distance and so on. Let's have a quick look at the water down here for a few minutes while that little bit's drying off. First thing I want to do is I want to use the 6 brush and a very dark colour actually. So I want to change colours a little bit here. I want to bring in some of the dark skin into the green. So it's a very sort of, almost like a sludgy brown colour. It's not a nice colour as such, but it's there. It does its job. And this is going to go on the edge of the water. So you get that nice kind of edging to this. And I'm flicking along the edge here. So I'm making the water edge look a little bit darker basically, like I would expect it to be. There we go. A few little spots and dabs around it. Every so often, you know, you can give it some character. The best watercolour paper is the kind that's got that bit of a texture to it. I can also bring a little hint of this into the water as well actually. So I'm starting to do some horizontal brush strokes here. And if you can see those, can you see the texture? So I did actually dab off the excess colour. This is the same colour what I just used on the edge. It's like a browny sort of green really. An olive sort of colour really, I guess, khaki. And I'm putting some ripples in the water to help to give a bit of movement in there. The secret to these is keep your lines nice and straight, keep your lines horizontal, and you can't go wrong. Now if you remember, we used violet earlier on, so I want to take some violet. We used it in the sky, didn't we? Let's pop some of that in. That's always a nice colour to see. Beautiful transparent violet into the picture. Like so. Really starts to give a sense of flow to the water. Makes a difference over here as well. Nice. So you can see that effect, can't you? Lots and lots of horizontal lines. And then making sure that it's really quite dark on the water's edge. I mean, that is so important to get that real sense of depth. So I've actually got now on the brush, I've got some natural grey, which is really quite a dark colour for this, and it's going in nice and strong. Now if you like this kind of work, folks, like I said, over on Watercolour TV, there's the address here. You can join, it's free for a month, and you can become a member and you can enjoy all the benefits. There's hundreds and hundreds of watercolour tutorials, new stuff added every week, and we also have printable worksheets. On the new website that goes live very soon, you can send your artwork in for the gallery that we're going to create. So if you want to put your own paintings on show, you can do. It's optional, of course it is. There's going to be a community on there. There's going to be a blog for chatting. You can ask me private questions. You get private Q&A sessions. It's a bit like a Patreon, but with a little bit more. And it's UK price. It's $49.99 per year at the minute. But like I said, that price will be going up on the new site. But if you sign up now at the old price, it'll remember you. So it's worth becoming a member. As long as your card is kept up to date, your bank card, it'll auto renew, which you can turn off, by the way. It'll remember that you are a member. So have a little think about it, folks. It's better than watching the TV. Or if you struggle to fall asleep on an evening, stick me on the telly on your computer. You can't go wrong. Now over here, we're going to bring in some little bits of interest. Which is going to be some little sort of fence posts and various things. It's always nice to pop little bits of detail in, I always think, on these pictures. So a little bit of an old an old rustic gateway. Used to be a co-op at one time. Does anybody get that joke? It's always nice to see. I put a bird on there as well. See a bird? Bearded chuff, that. Popping a few little bits of rough texture. This is just using grey. You get 50 shades of grey in every tube, so it's worth picking up every time. Let's come back a little bit here, folks. Let's put some reflections in the water. Bear in mind that this thing is straight because the board's leaning back. Doesn't mean anything. Let's pop some reflections in. Loving the water now. We've put that darkness in. It really adds to it, doesn't it? So using the grey with a pinchy brush. Let's bring some downward strokes. Bring some downward lines here. I call these skid marks. Tyre tracks, probably a better way of saying. Skid marks obviously mean other things, does it not? So that just helps to give depth to the water. You can see it. You can see it. I just want to make sure at this point that I've got plenty of darkness at the back of the house here, so I'm just putting a bit of extra shadow in there, just scattered in some of these areas. This is just using the grey again for this, spotting this in, so it just all blends in, and then very shortly we can take off that little bit of masking fluid. Going to pop some darkness in at the bottom of these trees as well. It all helps. Now I'm working very quickly, of course, but if you wanted to sort of do this at a bit more of a leisurely pace, then obviously you can do that. So I'm just kind of fiddling around. Can't go wrong. Okay, beautiful. Now down here, I'm going to put some fence posts in. So in my actual palette, I've got some sludge. We've got some grey that we've just been using. We've got this browny grey mix. It's a mix, if you remember, the grey and the skin tone. That's going to be nice. That's going to be good for the posts. It's the perfect post colour. We'll use that. Bit of a sludgy, browny sort of tinge. Pop that in. Some nice rustic, classic Derbyshire this. Classic Peak District. Lots of old rustic posts that have just been left there to gather dust and weather away, but they always look so nice just in a picture. It just gives scale, gives distance, and it's amazing, just a simple thing, because people can relate to that and they know kind of how big a fence post actually is, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Are you with me? Are you on the same page as me? Beautiful, liking that. And then I'll pick up some of the grey and I'm just going to drop in a bit of darkness. I'm never concerned about where my light comes from. I know it's a bit of a long-standing joke with me, but it doesn't bother me. Life's too short. Pop little bits of shadows coming around here. See, I spend a lot of time teaching outdoors normally when I'm allowed out, and in places like this, I've sat here and painted before with groups in pretty much the same spot. We've got some nice public toilets. It's called the Bush, just sort of here. Now, we always make sure these loose. There's a few things that are very important when people ring up to book a painting holiday. The first question they ask is not, what sort of thing do you paint? Is there any toilets where you're painting? That's the most important thing. Although they don't actually say toilet, they say toilet. You have to say it through your nose. Is there any toilets where you're painting? Is there any what? Toilets. I can't hear you. Toilets. 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 We do provide shiwis on painting holidays. What is a shiwi anyway? Nice. I'll just put a bit of extra darkness in there, make it look a bit more healthy. Put little bits of grasses and things. It all adds to it, it's all part of the effect. Nice. Let's look back at the picture, folks. We are getting a scene. A scene is happening in front of us. Now, I had no idea what I was painting till about half an hour ago. Seriously. That's the way the interesting toilet comes from. Is it an age thing, is it? It's an age thing. You can't beat a good toilet, can you? How did I get onto toilets? I'm just putting some little bits of darkness in these trees, folks. Just here for you. And then very soon we'll get the fluid off. And also we are going to pop in some branches at the top. In fact, we'll do that now. Let's get close in to the top section. That was done with a big tree brush, if you remember. I just want to mention, folks, we're down to the last couple of spots on this. So if anyone's still on the fence, like here, about this, good time to get in. Good time to get in, alright? Now, the browny colour, browny, skin tony, grey colour, maybe I should bring out my own range of shiwis. We could have them branded up with the Matthew Palmer collection logo. What do you reckon? Reusable. Just rinse them under tap and away you go. Got about 15 thumbs down just then. Let's bring this over here. These branches. Lost 12 viewers have just gone. Let's bring this over here. Now, for this kind of thing, as you can see, it makes a big difference adding this Let's rapidly move on from that, shall we? We're still talking about. We'll stop. Let's bring in here. You can always research a shiwi, I'm sure. Now, as far as brushes are concerned, if you've got a nice size 6 brush that's got a good tip on it, like this one, then I'm quite happy to pretty much do the majority of these branches with this brush. Okay, now obviously it really does come down to personal preference. So you've got obviously rigger brushes. Has anyone got my branch and detail brushes? They would work lovely for this. But a good tip for painting fine branches is not to have a huge amount of paint on your brush. So these number 6 brushes are available online. Someone's just asked the question. So head on over to the Watercolour TV and you can see the art shop. And these are the size 6 imitation sable brushes. So these are completely synthetic, which is good if you're vegetarian or, like my wife, vegan. It's not an issue. But they are lovely brushes, I must admit. Nice. That makes a difference, don't it? Now what I want to do, folks, is in my palette, we can see we've got a few bits of green hanging around. We'll take some of that green there, come back to the picture, and we're going to spot. We're going to have a little bit of a stutter. Around some of these overhanging trees. So again, this is all working alongside what I did right at the beginning. One of the first things we did was to paint in this corner, and that's because the paper was a bit damp, you see, and it made sense to do it at the point of it being damp as well. So there's also no sketching involved in the workshops as well, so it's completely just a white piece of paper. All you need for the workshop is a white piece of watercolour paper, clean paper. Stick it down to a board if you can, not essential. 3 brushes, which is a large, middle, small, and 3 colours, and you're pretty much set. It's useful to have a pencil because, I mean, some people do a little bit of sketching, but there's very, very little sketching, if any, involved, and that's a great thing about them. The one we did on last Sunday, which was the one at the bottom there, the one with the mountains, that's actually like the Italian lakes, 0 sketching. Let me know if anyone did that in the who's watching this demo. So all those pictures you see there have all been done live at a virtual workshop, and as we mentioned at the beginning, you can actually get hold of them online. So any of the previous ones are available for a bit of a limited time. Here's the link, folks, in the chat if anyone wants to book those, and if anyone's wanting to book in for one of the last couple of spots that's left for the Butterfly on Budlear workshop, here it is. There's the link for that one as well. Can't go wrong. Let's bring the picture back. This is a relaxed way to spend an afternoon, or in some people's case, morning, I imagine. Is it morning where you are, or is it evening? Loving the effect of the overhanging tree. It really always adds a bit of interest to a picture. Just a few darker leaves is always good to pop in, but you've got to know when to stop. Well, leave it alone, I should say, really. So I'll stop there with that, folks. We'll come back a couple of steps and take a look at the picture that we have. Looking good. We are ready for painting in the house. taking the fluid off, you can simply just use your finger for that. Or you can use a rubber or an eraser. This thing here is called the mask away, which is like it's like a special rubber that they developed for taking fluid off. It does work really well actually, and it doesn't take off the pencil that's underneath it. So if I take that off, that's the masking fluid. Again, if you're not sure what that is, folks, it's the stuff that comes in little bottles. You can get blue, you can get white. They brought out a lovely pink one, which was to raise funds for breast cancer care, and 50 pence off every bottle went to the Cancer Research UK charity, I believe. The reason they stopped selling it, because it looks a little bit like Gaviscon. It's pink, so you've got to be careful. I am joking, by the way. It raised a lot of money for a great cause. There we go, super. Let's pop a wash of colour on. Now there's one colour that we've not really spoke about that I will be using, and that is a colour called Natural Yellow. Now, Natural Yellow Light, yes, we spoke about that, and that was this bright yellow here, but this one next to it, it's almost gone actually. This one is called Natural Yellow. This is my sort of sandstone colour. When we was looking at this painting earlier on, bring it back into view, this is Natural Yellow Light shining through the door, but all of the stonework here is natural yellow, and that's a great colour for beaches, brickwork, that kind of thing. So I want to pop a little blob in. It's quite a dark colour. When you see it, it's quite dark. If you look at the blob, you can see it's almost like an ochre, but it's nothing like yellow ochre. It doesn't go green when it comes into contact with blue, which is a great thing actually. That's a great thing. I'm just throwing it on the floor. So I'm just going to mix up clean up some space here. I want to use that because that's a great colour for Chatsworth. It's got this lovely kind of sandstony colour to it. Beautiful sort of khaki yellow. And that's ideal for this. And basically I'm just going to put a wash of colour over it. And then we'll bring shadows into play over the next sort of 10 minutes or so and bring this thing alive. This is the focal point of the picture, so it needs care spent with it. So I'm just using that 6 brush again, and it's completely all that colour, and it just kind of sits nicely in the landscape there. Smash in. Now I'll give that a little bit of time to soak in, and then we'll work in shadows into this. So that goes right over to the edge. Of the picture. Now that dark skin colour is also quite useful. I want to work some of that into it as well. That's lovely. It just gives a slight interest, slightly more interesting colour mix, and then all that's going to get shadows and detail. Nice. So that just wants to settle in, but if we zoom back, we can see what we've got so far. It kind of sits nice within the landscape there. It works well. Beautiful. Yes, the nickname is kind of baby poo on that colour. That's what it's been sort of known as. I've called it baby poo for years. Luckily it doesn't smell like baby poo. Just making sure we've got plenty of shadows around. Super. So I'm just giving that a few seconds to soak in, folks, and what I'm doing is I'm titivating. Popping in some little bits of extra shadow here and there, ready for a focal point. I will possibly reflect that. I'm not sure yet. I'll think about that. Stick with me, folks. We're getting towards the end of this. We're going to bring some light into the picture and some shadows into this once it's dry. Let's just talk a little bit about light, because that's always an important point of a picture. Want to get some highlights in, and highlights will always make a huge difference. What we have is the lift out brush. We mentioned this. It's a square brush, but this particular one is called the lift out brush. It's made from a special hair that is stiff, and it's like kind of tapered at the end. So it's basically a square brush, but a very stiff one and a sharp one. Clean it, give it a bit of a pinch through your fingers, which is good. It's looking alright, this picture, isn't it? I'm looking back, I keep leaning back. If I ever go quiet, I'm either replying to a question or walking back and looking at the picture from distance. I want to put some light in the picture. I've got some dry tissue through the fingers, and my first job is I want to lighten underneath some of these hedgerows and put some light coming down in the fields. I want to show you that closer in because I want you to see what I'm doing here. This is giving the house time to dry. So basically I can use this damp brush and put some highlights in these hills. Taking the paint away. And creating light. Now, lift out is not a technique that's widely used by other artists, but you'll see me use it in everything. So anyone that's a member of Watercolour TV or attends any of my workshops, you'll know it's a technique that I do, and I have taught people for years. So as people I teach, this is kind of second nature to them. But it's not a common technique at all, but it's so effective. It really is a nice thing to do, and it works really well in trees. If we pop up to the branches here, we can pop some light in them branches. It's worth sticking around for the last bit because these are the bits that make the difference. So if I pop some light, just say come in here, you can make these branches look almost three-dimensional by popping some highlights into them. Calms them down a little bit as well. It's probably enough actually. It's just enough to just add a bit of light in that corner, and you can really see the highlights there, can't you? Even in the background as well. Popping a few little highlights here and there. This is not a bad idea. Almost onto the house. Let's come down to the fence posts here. I'm going to pop a little bit of highlight on some of those posts. Can you see that little bit of light there? It just helps them stand up against the background. Doesn't want much, but it does help. And if I decided that I wanted to see a slight reflection of the house, I would line it up and wash off an area, wipe it out. See how easy it comes off? Smooth it to one side, smooth it down. If anything, you don't get a hint of it. You wouldn't really see much. And I'll pop some colour in there. So that's the start of it. And I'm just going to move the camera to one side so it's less drunk. That's better. And if we take a close-up look at this, I'm going to pick up that piece of card that we had a little bit earlier on. This piece for doing the edge, and put it in line with the building. and do some horizontal lines in a bit of a greeny colour. You see it helps the reflection stand out. Do the same here as well. Pop that right on the edge, like so, and pop some horizontal lines coming across. Just helps to give a slight reflective feel. Put some lines over the top, but not quite so many. And then just a few extra little bits of ripples around here. This is back to that violet again. I think that'll work. Natural violet. Excellent. And let's take a look at the house just for a minute or two, okay? Let's come back over to the house. Right, so I've got some shadows to go in with the grey. Again, if you're thinking this is all a bit quick and a bit rushed, it's a demo, and always, you know, consider that to be something different. A demo and a workshop, very different things. A workshop will give you time to work along. That's shade number 39 of grey. I thought about writing a book about painting called 50 Shades of Grey. Do you think it'll sell well? We could do three different parts. Clean brush. So you can see how that's making that more of a feature now, yeah? Continuing with the shadows. At the front of this house, we're going to pop in this area that stands forward. Clean brush tissue. So can you see that's making that apex stand out? This is just using grey. Like I say, you can mix the grey from primary colours, and you'll learn that on the workshop on Sunday, because I know a lot of you are attending that one. Yeah, it would make a good film, wouldn't it, as well, 50 Shades of Grey. Surprised no one's thought of it before. Across here. And then we've got these areas of like sort of columns. Clean the brush on the tissue so it's almost dry, the brush. You can hear the clock tick, like a Rolls Royce in this studio. It's also very warm. We've got these big lights shining down, big studio lamps, 4 of them. Pop some windows in soon. Looking a bit more interesting, isn't it? basically I'm just literally just using grey. And if you was to see the palette, I'll bring it here. This is kind of what I'm using. This little bit of grey that's been there. It's been there for a while, and it's just making sure that you've got little bits of interest. There's all sorts happening around here. Little bits and bobs of lines and things. You know, end of the day, it's a massive tourist attraction. It brings a lot of tourism into the Peak District, does Chatsworth. I bet a lot of you have been there. It's wonderful at Christmas. They do a wonderful Christmas at Chatsworth. Beautiful. So I'm just putting little tiny spots and dots around. I will be putting some windows in this thing very soon as well. I'm doing this from my head. I'm not doing this from any photographs or anything like that. This is basically just me painting from kind of my imagination. So it's not accurate, I know that, but the more you paint, the more you think to yourself, life's too short. To be honest. Now, a little bit stronger with the grey, and we're going to paint in some little L-shaped windows. Three at the top, three at the bottom on each side. Green brush. Back to the first one. Just going to slightly feather that edge away, slightly dampen the edge. Like so. Nice. Makes a difference. And then just a few little bits of darkness. Like I said, I've pretty much used this number 6 brush throughout here. I've not used any other brushes for the past probably half an hour. And that's only because it's quite a detailed brush. If I wasn't happy with this brush, I would be using something finer. Put little bits of detail. We can see it taking a bit of shape, making sure it's nice and clean down these edges, nice and dark. It's also tempting. I mean, if you have a look at the palette, we can see we've still got lots of bits of green hanging around. There's a bit here, look. So I'm going to grab a little bit of this and just kind of pop some little trees and bushes around the front of the house here, you know. Chatsworth's very famous for its gardens. If I'm right in saying Capability Brown, does that sound right? You tell me, come on, help me out here. A famous landscape garden dude. Am I right? Come on, help me out here. I need some help. So I'm basically just spotting in little bits of trees and stuff. Yeah, this is literally about a 20 to 25 minute drive from where I live. So it's a lovely place to visit. And normally on a normal year, when there's nothing in the air, I do teach painting holidays in the Peak District. Next year's dates will be online very soon, folks, so if you do want to come along on a painting holiday, then you can head on over to Watercolour TV. Again, this is the address here. On the home page of Watercolour TV is a mailing list. If you pop your name in there, name, address, tick the box, say you're okay to receive emails, and you'll be informed of everything like workshops, demos, all them little bits and bobs that we talk about throughout these demos. Just popping in some little windows here. Now these are getting super fine, but it all makes a difference. I'm going to get closer in for you. I've still got the focus, yeah? Yeah. And you can see I'm just basically using the tip of that brush just to pop some little bits of grey inside, like so. Yeah, it does all make a difference. It's quite an important thing to add, yeah? Just popping a few little final. To be honest, it's quite addictive doing this, and if I ever go quiet, for one, enjoy it, because it don't happen often, and secondly, it's because I'm enjoying what I'm doing and I'm having a fiddle. Pop some little, because you can't beat a fiddle, can you? Especially when no one's watching. What a difference this is making, adding these little bits on there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah? Super. Okay, now I want to come down to the water for a few seconds, folks. Just going to come back a little bit here. And I'm just going to bring in a very, very tiny amount of that sandy yellow into the water, just to say it's got a hint of reflection in, and pop a few little spots and dots around the house, just to say it's got a bit of interest to it. I could keep going forever with it, to be honest, but obviously I need to know when to stop. And I want to do something in the water that will make quite a difference. I've got a craft knife here, quite a sharp one, and if I show you this piece while that bit dries, I want to put some light in the water. I always do this, and basically I want to scrape the water with a knife. Horizontally. It really brings a bit of light into it, do you not think? I've been doing this a long time, folks, and I know that some people have a fear about doing this. It does make an interesting sound as well, yes. So just a few little horizontal lines right up to the edge. Always looks effective. Well worth the effort. And just a couple of little teeny weeny bits in the reflection would also add to it as well. So using the grey, I'm just going to pop in a line up there, put some little downward flicks here as well, and it'll just help to reflect some of those little bits of detail in the house. Can you see the little downward flicks? And it's one of those little things that's optional, but again, for me, it always does make an interesting little bit of a difference on your paintings. And I think I'm in a position now where we can take a look back at the whole picture. There we go. Let's bring the camera a little bit more straight on this. Okay, so what I want to do, folks, I want to get the board level, bring it up straight, because it does have a habit of leaning a little bit. Make sure that's nice and level. I think that's not too bad. There we go. And then we'll take the masking tape away from this thing. It's always nice to see that. Always pull the tape away from the picture. Someone's asked, do you sell the palettes online? Yes, we do. This is my own design of palette called an Easy Clean palette. these are available on Watercolour TV, and we do have a nice, healthy, juicy stock of palettes. Got a lid with it as well. There we go. And that is a sort of British countryside scene, stately home, based on Chatsworth. Let's get close in here. See that nice bit of detail. Very slowly going to pull back there, and you can see the landscape in front of you. Don't forget, folks, to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's free. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and also have a good think about getting yourself booked into this virtual workshop. We're doing the beautiful butterfly. A red admiral or a tortoise shell is going to be on Sunday the 7th. If you're watching this back at a later stage, head on over to Watercolour TV, click the Watercolour tab, Watercolour workshop tab, because we will be doing lots and lots of virtual workshops. Just want to do one more thing on the house, folks, if people are still with me. Just want to pop a couple of highlights in before I go. So I'm just going to come back to this square brush. I'll lighten the edge. Give it a good old scrub on that edge. It'll give it a bit of a pop. I don't know whether you can be able to see this or not. On these, right on this corner here. Nice. Just make a difference, that. Just gives it a little bit of a lift. But yeah, that is basically the Chatsworth in the summer. A summer's evening, I would say. And there we go. So, still got a couple of spots left for the 7th, folks. Head on over. And hope you enjoyed that workshop. Let me have a look at you. Let me talk to you. Here I am. Just want to say, keep well, keep safe. I'll see you soon for more watercolour painting. And enjoy the summer. See you soon.